Hello mentors, in this video we'll shortly demonstrate how to play in Fraction Stories game. So here's the board. It starts with a 0, a 1 and an infinity. And let's say Jenny starts, so she rolls her dice and she picks a 2 and a 6 out of their values and she picks a story A. Jennifer worked in Brussels. She had to distribute a total of 2 grams of vitamin D evenly among 6 patients. And then she creates a story she completes because maybe lack of sunlight or other deficiencies for vitamin D. And now X is clearly to 6 because it's how much every patient gets. So 2 is the total, 6 is the number of people. And so she's going to place 2, 6, which is 1/3 in the board. Now she places it there, let's say, and then she'll get 7 points. Why is that? Because the distance, shortest distance from 2, 6 to a non-empty space, which is either 0 or 1, will be 7 if you compute the distance to 1. Let's check. I am in 2, 6. How many moves do I need to get to 1? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 points for Jenny. Okay, now Ben plays. So after rolling the dice, Ben picks 3, 4, and 6 as values, and he also picks story B to create a story. And it says Selena, the family doctor, needed to administer a total of 3 grams of magnesium daily, distributed evenly along 6 family members. She did this during 4 days in order to prevent and then causes of magnesium, maybe energy loss or loss of weight, etc., etc. So X is clearly 3 times 4 divided by 6 because 3 is, the dose daily, but it was 4 days, so it's actually 12. And then you divide by the number of patients. This has to be figured out by the student. That's very important part of this activity. So she gets 12/6, which is a fraction, which is really 2. And she's going to place it. So let's say she places it here after 1 in the road, of course, because 12/6 has to be, it's between 1 and infinity. And then she'll get 10 points because if you count the distance, actually, she'll get, 9 points. Let's check counting the distance to infinity is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And counting the distance to 1 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So she actually gets not 10, but 9 points. So let's correct that. 9 points because it's the shortest such distance. Okay. Now it's Juan's turn. So after rolling the dice, he picks a 4 and 5 and a 6, and he creates a story based on template C. Pedro wanted to distribute 5 grams of omega-3 equally among his patients because they were suffering. And then you find out what omega-3 does to the body, and then you create some story about that. Of those patients, there were 6 men and 4 women. So it's 5 divided by 6 plus 4, of course, the amount of grams of omega-3 that each patient got. So that's 5/10. And then he can use the fraction row, the fraction wall to compare. He just created 5/10. So he goes into the tenths and he counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's this yellow bar here that represents 5/10, which is exactly 1/2. And then he compares it with 2/6, which is the red bar. And he compares it with 1, which is the other red bar on the top, right top. And it fits between those two, right? Because it's further to the right than 2/6, and it's further to the left of 1. So based on that tool, he can choose this fraction 5/10 between 2/6 and 1. So he's going to place it almost in the middle to gain the most possible points. That's something that kids should discover, that you should place as middle as possible between 2 fractions. So he'll get 3 points because the distance from 5/10 to 1 is 3. Because if I'm in 5/10, I have to move 3 to get to 1. 1, 2, 3. So 3 points for Juan. Now let's say Alejandro, the next player, rolled his dice and he got some values and he picked a 2 and a 4 out of these values. And he picks story A again. So story A is the easy story, so to speak. You just have to do numerator divided by denominator. And he gets 2/4. Now 2/4, he realizes that 2/4 is exactly equal to 5/10, which is a fraction that is already in the board. And that's how this fraction wall it's important because it's a really useful tool to make sense of fractions and to visually, you know, make sense of comparisons. So he gets 0 points because he cannot really place this fraction. So 5/10. Of course, this is an example. Maybe Alejandro wouldn't have chosen that fraction, right? Because he would be in trouble. But if he did, he would get 0 points. And so play continues until there's a single complete round in which every player must pass. That will happen when, you know, fractions gets pretty crowded, and then the game ends and you just count your accumulated points, and whoever got the most points wins. Okay, enjoy.